In regions of Italy and France, an age-old tradition continues of truffle collection, and this humble-looking branch of the fungus family is highly prized for the flavour and aroma it gives to food. So much so that last season prices in France went up to nearly $4,000 a kilo. They are exported all around the world and treated like gold. So with that sort of demand and those sorts of returns in mind, an ambitious project has been underway in Tasmania to cultivate truffles. After a great deal of work, there's a small but significant harvest to celebrate. And joining us now from Launceston, Duncan Garvey, whose company began this quest 8 years ago, and with him, farmer Tim Terry. Good morning to you both.
Good morning, Tracy.
Good morning, Tracy.
Duncan, can I start with you? Did you take a big risk establishing this venture 8 years ago? I mean, there was no guarantee, was there, that the truffles would grow?
No, there's never been a guarantee, Tracy. I started on it 8 years ago. I overheard a conversation in a restaurant and people were talking about a truffle eating experience in France. And I got back in my car on the way home. I thought, wouldn't that be a wonderful thing to grow in Tasmania and sell to the rest of the world? And it started, I rang the French consul in Canberra and they gave me the relevant pages out of the French telephone directories, and a friend wrote me a letter in French of introduction, and I headed off to France, and it's been the most wonderful journey for the last 8 years through the truffle fields of France to the finest restaurants and castles in Europe. It's just been memorable.
It sounds like a very tough experience for you. Why did you choose Tasmania? Is that because the climate most closely replicates France?
Oh, for sure. I mean, latitude-wise, climatically, with different microclimates, soil temperature. Yeah, we believe, and when the quality of the truffle we found at Tim's place last Friday, and the other four we found on Monday. We think our science has worked, and the quality of our truffle is sensational. And yes.
Okay, well, Tim, Duncan's the mastermind. You're the lucky farmer. How hard was it to grow these truffles, by the way?
Well, I don't know about lucky. I think there's a lot more to it than luck.
Sure,
and Duncan and Peter have put a lot of work in to get it right. And we've been dedicating our last 2 years of our lives totally to truffles. There's a lot of work goes into it. It's not just luck, Tracy.
No, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have used the word luck. Obviously, it was a very badly chosen word. It's not just a question of planting these trees and waiting for the truffles to grow then. Is that the case?
No, absolutely not. There's a lot of management techniques and a lot of attention to detail that's involved in growing truffles, and not everybody will be able to do it.
Where do they grow? I mean, you need a particular type of tree, don't you?
We use the hazelnut tree and the two different species of oak, the Quercus ilex and the Quercus robur.
And you have to grow them near each other, don't you?
Yeah, we've been to France 6 times, and we've acquired the technology from the French researchers and the French growers, and I mean, we wouldn't be sitting here today without the wonderful support of the whole French truffle industry, and because they see what we're doing in Tasmania as very much complementing the French truffle industry with out-of-season production.
It's quite a science though, isn't it? I mean, you need to have the hazelnut, correct me please if I'm wrong, you need to have the hazelnut tree and the oak tree roots intertwining or something, don't you?
Yeah, the actual truffle, and this is the first truffle.
How much is that truffle worth, by the way? If they're $4,000 a kilo in France.
That was the season's price in France last year. I mean, we're in an extremely fortunate position. Apart from some small production in New Zealand, the truffle is probably the most sought after food in the world. And here we are in Tasmania. We have now the only fresh French truffle in the world. We would be naive to set a price. We'll let the market determine that.
Well, I'm sure you'd be very excited about that. We shouldn't ignore Pip, who's sitting very patiently at your feet. Pip is a Springer Spaniel who actually found... Did Pip find the winning truffle the first time?
Yes, Pip's very quickly become one of the more famous dogs in Australia. Yes, Pip found it, and we've got 5 truffle dogs now. They're trained in Sydney by Steve Austin, who trains all the beagles for all the ports of entry into Australia. Yes,
he's a bit of a genius. But isn't this a break with tradition? Because I understood that you needed pigs, that pigs were the truffle finders in France.
By far the biggest majority of truffles in France are harvested by dogs, sometimes pigs. We tried a pig a couple of years ago, but that's a long story.
It squashed the truffle. I'd always be worried about the pig squashing the truffle.
Well, when you look in some of the places in France where there's museums of the truffle, you quite often see in some of the old photos the odd finger missing from the truffle harvester. So there's trying to get the truffle out of the pig's mouth.
Okay. They must taste nice. Well, Tim, I mean, this is really a great development for you after lots of years of planning and work and effort, and obviously no luck at all involved. And you may find yourself in a position where, with truffles growing in Australia during the French off-season, you may be exporting truffles to France, which is a bit like ice to Eskimos, isn't it?
Oh, I think that's a natural progression. That'll happen as the industry grows, and it certainly looks like it's going to very rapidly from now on. I think that's just a natural progression. As the production rises, that there will be definitely an export market.
All right, well, good for you, and congratulations. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thanks, Tracy.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Great news for the people of Tasmania. Tim Terry and Duncan Garvey in our studios in Launceston, and we'll be back after this break.